Goes on again. It is not the membership. It's not the membership. So it's not the people in the church, okay, that the problem is with. Because there was a reason why when the priest sinned, that this priest had to offer a bullock, which is a male, a bull, okay? And the reason is because compared to everyone else who had a turtle dove, or they were to offer a lamb, it was because they, when it says when the priest sinned, the causes the congregation to sin. When the leadership was strong and moved forward, the people moved strong and moved forward with the leadership. When the leadership sinned, this people sin. And you see that when you see Elijah, okay, while the people were following the false prophets of Baal, they followed along. When they saw a strong, true leadership move, they moved with them. The people moved. David moved. The people moved with David. As you go through the whole Bible, wherever you see a strong leadership, okay, and you notice guys like David listened and followed the prophets. That was the number one thing that they spoke about David. They followed the prophet. When the leaderships bowed to the instructions of the prophet, they were bowing directly to God, not the prophets. But they represented in their words and their message that of God. And when you acknowledge that, that's where you see and understand the truth. So when we start moving away from the prophets of God in the church, then we're moving away from God. And that's why she makes a statement, Sister White makes a statement, that the people, they're steadily retreating, the leadership is steadily retreating from following their Christ, their leader. And in other words, she's given the spirit of, and that's why she goes on and she says, the testimonies are unappreciated and unread. And if somebody could probably give me that quote up there so that somebody could read it and go and read it. So the testimonies are unappreciated and unread. And we see this constantly in our church today. The acknowledgement saying the author or the writer. Why we seem like we're embarrassed to say our prophet or the prophet of God, as stated. We embarrass and we shy away, and we've lessened the impact. We say to people, well, she's a lesser light. She says so herself. And I always ask the question, how does the light from the moon gets its light? Light gets its light from the sun. And if the sun is the Bible and she's a lesser light, then all she's doing is reflecting that of the sun, because the moon has no light of its own. So when she made the statement that she was a lesser light, she was not seen to say she was less inspired than the Bible. What she was saying was that she did not have all the truth compiled from the Bible, and thus making her a lesser light. Okay, but the great light, which is the Bible. But she cannot be a lesser light in inspiration, because the same Holy Spirit, being only one, that inspired the Bible is the same one that inspired her. One. And the ones that inspired her has the same authoritative power as that which is inside of the Bible. And we've taken too much time and emphasis trying to move away from following who? Christ, our leader. In other words, following the Holy Spirit of God. Okay? And we're pushing away from that. Okay? And the reason why, by the way, and somebody put it up here, which is a great, it says, and don't we need the moon in the time of darkness? I was born in Jamaica, and I tell you, there are some nights where it was a moonless night, and I swear you could put your hand up in some of the countries that lived out in the country, and put your hand up, and you can't see nothing in front of you. Okay, it's pitch black. And then there are days when we have a full moon, and it is like unbelievable. It's like running around. You could clearly see everything, and that's the whole point. Is that reason why God has sent His prophet and always sent His prophet was in a time of darkness, when we were always struggling and we needed it. So any time when the prophet came was when we needed it the most, okay, to bring us back. And the fact that God has sent a prophet through Ellen G. White, then we clearly needed it the most. And that's when the most opposition actually came in against her. Now, the same situation that we believe and understand through the Rod message and through Victor Houteff. But remember this, the prophets must be subject to the prophets. So So anything that is being taught by the rod must be, okay, vindicated through the Bible, and must also through the spirit of prophecy, okay, and as well in regards to who the coming Elijah in it. There's a lot of information on that, but that, like I said, that's another study in itself that we're going to be dealing with a little later on. We continue on here, and it says, the message of God sends through his servants, says the spirit of prophecy, we will be scorned. When the message is this is what it says, we will be scorned and derided by unfaithful shepherds who tread down with their feet the feet of the pastors, giving the flock as food that which they have defiled. Okay, which they have, and Zechariah chapter 4 is another study that we're going to also go through in prophecies in regards to the grains and so forth like that, and that's a great study. And then you also see about the various truth. Woe unto the pastors that destroy and scatter the sheep of my pastor, saith the Lord. Review and Herald, June 25, 1901. And it's interesting when this came up in 1901. It's a couple of years, 3 years after the 1888 message that came to the church in Minneapolis conference by Wagner and Jones, and how that all turned out, and what she made statement in regards to that, why this statement was also made. When we view this and we continue on, we also notice that of these two, one of them, okay, the leadership, as it says, is who the grizzled horses are, going back to following Egypt. Going back, and by the way, back the General Conference president made a very strong speech, quite some years back, and we have a copy of that speech. If anybody would like to have that copy, clearly requested, and it could be emailed off to you, and it will take you completely back what this man of God was saying. And a lot of things we need to understand is that people believe that the rod message is there to shoot down and knock down the leadership. We're not there to knock down or shoot down the leadership. We're there to give the truth. And in all leaderships, there is the Gamaliels, okay, who says, don't touch them, behave yourselves, control yourselves. There was the Joseph of Arimathea, okay, there was godly men, okay, that was among the leadership who understand, okay, what the truth is. Okay, this is not what they're talking. They're talking about the corporate body, okay, not individuals. They're godly men that is among that which God has ordained to be ministers, and we've seen that as Bible examples. So it would, I don't know who left person, right person is. My job is not to call down pastor this and pastor that or so forth. My job is just to give the information that is there and put it where it applies, and it applies in this particular instant to the first leadership that has been given. All right, and we see it in types consistently. Something you need to also notice is that right through the entire Bible, in all cases, you always see that the bloodline right from Adam, right through, always came to the second-born. Why? Because the firstborn always despises, okay, the birthright. And we saw that as well in regards to the firstborn were supposed to be that of the matrix. And they lost that onto the Levites, okay, because they despised their birth. We saw them at Mount Sinai, okay. They despised the leadership, the position. We see that with Esau and Jacob. We see that with Cain and Abel. We see that with Noah's three sons, that Seth was the second-born, despite the fact that his name was first listed. And the reason why you see his name first listed is because that's the bloodline it was supposed to go. You go through the whole Bible, all right, and without exception, the firstborn has never been the one whom Christ's bloodline came through. It always came through the second-born. And those are very, very important. You also, this in the types as well, too, in the apostles' time as well. You see that as well, that there was the leadership that was set there, but they despise, okay, the position that they had, and corrupted the teachings to the people, so that they couldn't even recognize Christ's message when Christ came. And that's what we're going to see in this case as well too. It says, now, Testimonies volume 5 says, the days of purification are hasten apace. God will have a what? Pure true. Those who have trusted to intellect, genius, or talent will not stand at the head of the ranks and files. Now, you know, why is that is so important and it's interesting is you know, one of the things they always used to say to Christ was what? Where did he learn his letters? In other words, where did he get his degree? Okay, and we see that without, when you see a seminar is going to go on, you know, you take, you know, I'm exaggerating a little bit here, but you take 10 minutes just to introduce the individual of every accolades the individual has ever had, where they teach, where they're this. But the question is he a man of God? You know, a servant of God. We give a whole bunch of accolades as if by giving him those accolades, okay, that makes him a spiritual individual. But where you see, he says, the days of purification of the church is coming quickly, as a hastening of pace. God will have a pure truth. Those who have trusted to intellect, genius, and talent will not stand at the head of the ranks and file. Testimonies, volume 5, page 80. The Lord has faithful servants, he says, okay, who in the shaking, testing time will be disclosed to view. There are precious ones now hidden who have not bowed the knee to Baal. They have not had the light which has been shining in concentrated blaze upon you. But it may be under a rough, uninviting exterior, the pure brightness of a genuine Christian character will be revealed. Okay? Unlike in color, the two teams, figured of two classes. Servants, unlike in characters. Okay? One is brilliant, and they're like, what does it say? Many stars, okay, will go out, okay, in the final time. God will not use them. They're too what? It says they're unlike in character. So you see two different people: church militant, church triumphant. The former class, the grizzled, are men of learning, position. But what does the Spirit of Prophecy says? They're self-sufficient, independent of God, and He cannot use them. The latter, and this is Testimonies, volume 5, page 82. The latter, the bay horses, whom He will what? He says, He will raise up and exalt among us, are those who are taught rather what? By the unction of the Spirit, rather than the outward train of scientific institution. They're being taught by the Spirit of God. Okay? That's how they're being taught. They're not being taught by books and all these things that, you know, from their classes, sitting in a book of classes and going through, you know, having these accolades and these letters before, you know, PhDs, MHDs, MSD, all these various things, okay? You know, their masters and their bachelors and their PhDs and their honorary degrees and all these various letters. And so that's why he says, where did he get his letters from? Where did he get his degree? Okay? And it says there, God will manifest that he is not dependent upon learned, self-important mortals. Testimonies, volume 5, page 82. Now, I'm going to go a little further here, looking at my time, because I need to give some time for some questions as well. And he says here again, continuing in volume 5, and Prophets and Kings, page 725 as well, too. Say the most weak and hesitating in the church will be as who? David, willing to do and to dare. Then will the church of Christ appear fair as the moon, clear as the sun, and terrible as an army with banner. She's to go forth. Listen to this, interesting. Now she's to go forth into what? All the world, the bay horse. Go in the world, conquering and to conquer. Okay? And that's you see in volume 5 in Prophets and King. Going into the world to conquer and to conquer and to conquer. Right? Right now, is that what she's talking about? She's not talking about going into the world in that sense. There is no doubt. It talks about evangelism and all these various things. But only under the instructions of God. Are we to evangelize the world? Without a doubt. That is our commission. But can new wine be put into an old flask? Shall not the old flask break and the new wine removed? First we get a what? A new flask to bring the new wine in. And there's a strong statement Spirit of Prophecy made